Welcome aboard the Boat Buyers Secret Weapon podcast, where we're dedicated to helping first-time and experienced boat buyers find the right boat at the best price so they have years and years of boating fun, because life truly is better on a boat. Today's podcast is sponsored by the Boat Buyers Secret Weapon YouTube channel. Don't pay too much for your next boat. Just visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/save to watch a short video. Now, let's hop aboard and have some fun.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Boat Buyers Secret Weapon podcast. I'm your host, Captain Matt. And today we're here with Jim to talk center console. So I'm excited about this conversation. Jim, welcome to the podcast and thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure to talk to you, Captain Matt.
So let's start with just kind of so everybody knows your situation. Share a little bit of your boating background and where you're at in your shopping process right now.
Okay, well, my wife and I have been running around on a 34-foot cruiser for quite a long time. So we've been cruising on that, and now it's time that we have a place on the water. So now we're thinking of it's time to get rid of that and get a center console and possibly trailer it down to Florida during the winter months because we live up here in the Great Lakes.
Okay, very good. So what's the cruiser that you have?
I have a 34 Silverton with the Flybridge sedan.
Okay, very good. So you're moving into the center console world. What has you making that decision that, hey, a center console and maybe down to Florida is where I see my boating lifestyle going?
Yeah, well, the reason being is I love to fish, for one, and we don't really need to stay overnight on the boat anymore because we have a place on the water. But it is quite a change because you don't have as much room on the center console to carry it, all the stuff that we're used to carrying, for facilities as far as, a little bit of eating here and a little bit of drinking and a little bit of basically, amenities, basically. We don't have all the amenities that we're used to.
Sure. So when you say you have a place on the water, is that in Michigan or is that in Florida?
It's in Ohio. Yeah, it's in Ohio.
Great Lakes, I guess. You didn't say Michigan. Okay, so that's in Ohio. Right. You'll trailer it down. You enjoy fishing. So what have you kind of looked at and what questions have popped up in your initial kind of research of moving to the center console world?
Well, when I was down there this last winter here in February, I was down there at Marathon and was running around with a young man that had a center console. It was a 25 with, I think it was a 200 outboard. And I noticed that when we went to the Gulf, it did great. The waves weren't too bad. But when we went to the Atlantic side, with it being a little rough, I think a little more weight and a little more length would have been a lot better, probably even a little more power.
Okay. So when you think about going fishing, what type of fishing are you looking to go offshore? Are you looking to make the run down to the Bahamas? What does that look like for you down in Florida? And what percent of your boating do you see happening down there versus happening in Ohio?
Well, down there, I figure on about 3 months, January through March, and then I'd like to do some offshore fishing and then also in the Gulf, and that's what's nice about being down at the Keys. You can do both. It's actually a new world for me as far as fishing in the ocean. You never know what you're going to catch, and there's a lot of different ways of fishing. So I'm learning a lot, basically.
Yeah, that's great. When you mentioned Marathon, two things popped into my head. Have you watched the YouTube videos from Born Again Boating?
No, I don't believe I have. I'll make a note of that.
Check that out. He's down in Marathon, I believe, somewhere in the Keys. He's got an awesome boating channel where he gets into a little bit more of the service side, the technician side. And the other one that jumped out is Gale Force Twins. Two ladies that are twins that do a lot of fishing, and they go down to the Gulf, kind of up and down the Florida coasts.
I did. I have caught them on there. Yeah, that's they're really knowledgeable too.
Yeah. I really like the Technicians Tuesday that the Born Again Boating guy does. Aaron, I think his name is. is awesome, and the fishing knowledge with those twins is impressive. I really like how they do their videos. So okay, so 3 months down in Florida, fishing is probably like some offshore, but still learning that world a little bit.
Hmm.
Tell me about your tow vehicle, because there's going to be some limitations there potentially on pulling it back and forth from Ohio to Florida.
Right. Yeah, I got a 2500 Denali GMC with the diesel and the Allison transmission.
Okay. So are you 12,000, 15,000 pound capacity with that?
I think it's 15,000 pounds towing on that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's one of the things I like to ask, because you mentioned 25. Man, maybe a little bit bigger if we're getting out in the rough stuff in the Atlantic. Um, you're balancing that when you're towing, especially a long distance. You've got to think about that. So what
Right.
boats have you actually looked at? I know that you are pretty far down in the research process and have actually zeroed in on a handful of boats. Give me your questions there, Jim.
Well, I was actually looking anywhere from a 27 to a 32 is what I was looking for.
Okay.
And I was running around on the Sea Hunt while I was also up there in Fort Myers, which is a really nice boat, but it doesn't have a big enough bow ride for me, because up here at the Great Lakes, it gets really rough up here. So a little bit of weight on the nose makes a big difference up here. But I'm in the process right now of looking at a 2900 Sailfish center console. It's a 2020. Just went on the market, and so I'm in the process of buying that. And I was wondering if you knew much about that boat.
The Sailfish, I'm going to put them in kind of the mid to lower mid level as far as quality goes in that level. And part of it has to do with what I know about how they handle warranty and the standing behind the product. I've heard too many issues of, we had a problem and the dealer and the manufacturer weren't as supportive as we would like them to be from other customers. So, and I know a few dealers that carried them previously, 7 years ago, probably, that dropped them because of the way they handle that warranty. Now, I don't know if it's still the same, but that's why I would put them down a little bit lower.
Okay. Did you notice any major issues as far as what area we're talking? Are we talking hull design, engine, or electronics, or what are we looking at there as far as what you heard that wasn't real well?
It's more the fit and finish. It's more the putting everything together. Here's and I mentioned this before we got started. I just couple months ago was down in Charleston, South Carolina, and I inspected I bet 50 different center consoles about everything that they had in the indoor section of the show, which are the major brands. And one thing I'll tell you, from the most entry level, cheapest boat on the market, in my mind, like the Trophy and the Sea Pro, up to the Edgewater and the Grady and the Whaler, they're all built well. I mean, you can definitely see the difference between the top and the bottom, but there's none of them anymore that I'm going to say, oh man, I would be scared to take my family out on that boat. I just think the quality of manufacturing processes has improved so much that it's more a matter of, man, you're going to hear some jingles and some jangles, and you're going to hear, some hinges aren't going to match up, and latches and hatches are going to break on the more entry level models. And you're going to have a more solid ride, and that little things aren't going to break on the top end. But none of them anymore where you're going to see, oh man, the hull's going to fall apart on you, and you're going to knock a hole in the gunnel if you're out on too rough of a day. I just don't think we're seeing that anymore, thankfully.
Yes, I agree. Well, I did notice that the hull is warranted for 10 years. How strenuous they are as far as whether it's just hairline cracks or if it's major. I'm not sure, but I don't believe that they have wood stringers in those anymore. Do you know?
I am not 100% sure if they're using wood or if they're using a composite.
Yeah, I think it's
know,
a composite is what I heard.
Yeah, I know there's a handful of people that have gone to the composite, but I think wood is the encapsulated in the fiberglass is still pretty common.
Okay. Okay. Do you know much about the weight as far as this boat versus the other boats?
It's actually a good telltale sign. As I've been doing my videos, like I said, I went down there and inspected about 50 different boats, and I've got putting the videos together for the YouTube channel, Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon. And that's one of the things that I've done is I'm pulling the dry weight and the max capacity and the max horsepower on these boats, and they're actually, as I've kind of rated them in my little system that I've got, I'm finding that dry weight gives you a pretty good idea of the quality of construction. When you compare that and go look at another 27, a regulator or a pursuit or, whatever brand you're looking at, Robalo or whatever. And you'll kind of tell where it ranks as you make the adjustments for the size and the length and the beam.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at too. Because I noticed that this boat is fairly heavy for the size. And then, of course, I'm also looking at probably buying a trailer as well for this.
Sure.
So it was dry weight is around 8,000. Now, I didn't know if that meant with the motors or without.
It's probably without, but you may want to look in the fine print. Manufacturers don't do a great job of showing, is that with the standard motor or is that without the engine. My gut tells me it's probably without.
Okay, well that would be what I'd be looking for then.
Yeah. You gotta, and I found that same thing is trying to compare apples to apples with the dry weights can be difficult. Knowing that, are you that 2020 sailfish that you're looking at? Is that with a dealer or a private seller?
It was just brought in on trade-in, and I did find out the reasons why he traded it in. He just bought it the middle of last summer, brand new, and he added a bunch of extras to it. But the reason he traded it in is because he had two boats, and one was a huge boat, and one was this center console, and so he wanted to go with just one boat in between, so he went with like a 42 Tiara.
Okay. Well, that's a good, about as good a story as you can find on a pre-owned boat. Somebody that knows boats and has the money to maintain them and take care of them the proper way, you would assume.
Yeah, it's in. I mean, you'd think it was off the showroom floor just looking at it.
No, that's awesome. Is it a sailfish dealer that took it in?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's where he actually bought it from.
Perfect. I would ask them, just let them say, hey, I'm looking at the dry weight here. I'm going to be pulling this thing down to Florida. Is that dry weight with the motor, without? And if it is with, what motor is it with? Depending on how it's equipped.
Yeah, and also I went to
does that have twins?
Yeah, it's got the twin 300s on it. Okay.
Yeah, definitely check that out, because that's 1,000+ pounds a motor back there probably. Yeah, I would ask the dealer. They should know that, whether it's in the brochure or not.
Okay, well, I guess one of my other questions is a real great concern of mine is that the boat right now is in storage in a heated building, and it's back in the back where it's really hard to get out. And
Sure.
So I've asked for a bunch of extra stuff that I wanted done to it before I get it. But the thing I'm running into is I've never ever bought a boat without a sea trowel, but I've never ever bought like a brand new boat either.
Right. Yeah, this time of year in the upper Midwest, in the Northeast, it's challenging because you've got difficult conditions. It may be winterized if it's a stern drive. It may be tucked away in a building like it is now.
Mhm.
It's I have a really hard time saying buy a boat without a sea trial.
Mhm.
You're looking at a $100,000+ boat. I don't know what that 27 is, but I'm sure it's well north of 100. Um,
Mhm.
I would try to work with them and find out a way to lock it in with some sort of deposit. And I mean, they should be starting to pull boats out. It's April now. Is
Mhm.
it's starting mid-April. They're going to start to be pulling boats out and getting them reorganized. I would ask
Mhm.
them, hey, can I do even a 10% deposit so you know I'm serious? But I really, really would like to do a sea trial before I plunk down the whole amount. And
Mhm.
if it's a good, reasonable dealer, I would assume they would be open to that.
Yeah, they're really well known up here up in the Great Lakes here. So I did bring that to their attention, and what they said is, well, this boat, they're actually giving me the complete warranty and setting it up as just exactly as if you were buying it new right off the showroom floor.
Sure.
They're making sure the fuel filters and the the oil's changed, everything's checked out completely. So they are giving me the complete warranty as a new boat. I don't know if that would make a difference. My problem that I worry about being on so many different boats is, how many boats you get out on, and when you're going across the water, and if it starts to get rough, you got to slow down. Well, some boats, especially with having quite a bit of weight in the back with them twin 300s, is I'm worried about, okay, I'm going to have to slow down for the rough weather. Is it going to be, sitting straight up in the air, or does it have enough, you know what I'm saying, as far as,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're going to
What's
have to slow down like 18 mile an hour or something, or 15? Is it going to be sitting up in the air where you can't see for one thing, and then, you have enough, I'm sure you have enough power, but
Well, yeah. Are you
I'm
going to
trying
fall
to
off
figure out the
plane?
planing part.
Yeah. Are you going
Mhm.
to fall off plane in really rough stuff and make it a nightmare to handle? Yeah, that's the
Right.
exact reason. I mean, on a new boat, I assume it's got Yamahas. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
And it
those
is a
engines, unless
29,
he did
so.
something really terrible to them, those engines are fine,
Mhm.
but you never know.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Right.
it's all the other stuff that you get when you're on the water. I mean, the handling characteristics, the boat feels different.
Mhm.
You can sense how you're going to use it. And you're an experienced boater, so it's a little bit easier to say maybe if it's a great dealer, maybe. But
Mhm.
there's something about getting on the boat in the water and you running it yourself that
Mhm.
really helps you know that you can buy that boat with confidence. And I would do everything I could to work with that dealer to get a chance to run it prior to signing those papers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, because their point of view is, I've got so many other people that are wanting it,
Yep.
because of the, boat supply up here is just, there's none up here. There's no
Oh
center
yeah, yeah.
consoles
You
up
add
here.
that on top of it. It's not, the market
Yeah.
right now is insane. And
Right.
I'm sure that's not a story. I'm sure they do have them piled 5 deep to buy that boat. No questions.
Yeah, and it was one of those kind of deals where you were talking to the right person at the right time before it went on the market. So that's like, and even I found out that possibly a salesman even really wanted it bad, but he didn't know about it yet either.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, like I said, the ride is probably good. Most of the boats today are built better than they have been for years. Even the least expensive on the lot is still built better
mhm.
than most boats were even 15 years ago,
Mhm.
because of the improvements in manufacturing processes and quality control and materials. Um, Tell me, the building it's in, it's all the way in the back. Did they give you a sense of when they might be able to get it out, or do you have a sense of
Well,
when they start pulling boats out to get them ready for the water up there?
I'm thinking in a couple weeks they should be getting it out,
Yeah,
because they're starting
that's
to
what I'm
pull
thinking
boats out,
too.
like you said. And but
Mid-April.
how dealers are, they want to close on the deal as soon as possible. They're pushing
Well, that's
hard for
that's
that.
why I said maybe if you offered them a 10% deposit, like, hey, I don't
Mhm.
know if you're financing or not, it doesn't really matter, but you're going to have to bring
Mhm.
10% regardless. Um, you
Mhm.
know, hey, here's 10%. The only reason I would walk is if it doesn't perform this, that, and the other. And I mean, I would imagine they would be okay. Um, but again, it's a weird market right now. But I would just really push them on that, because I think you'll buy it with more confidence, and I'm 95% sure you would buy it anyway. But that
Mm-hmm.
5%, that's an expensive mistake if you don't like it.
Right. Oh yeah, that's what I kept saying. Well, yeah, that was my point across the board too. Now you had mentioned something about and we all know that banging through the waves and stuff like that, how much vibration and rattle and all that stuff you get. So I really looked it over as far as how the tiaras are made, with the lockers are super thick and the latches are unbelievably strong. And I compared it to that, and all the latches on here seem to be really, really good as far as the way they latch and the
Okay.
catch mechanism that's on them.
Do they
and of
have the
course, this
rubber
boat is.
gaskets and the
Yep.
seals to keep them? Okay. Yeah, I mean, all
Yep.
of
Every
that
one of them
stuff.
does. Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
if you can look at all of that stuff and get your flashlight out and look in all the lockers and everything, you can check most things. If you got that toolkit, you can check most
Hmm.
things on that inspection checklist, the Boat Buyer Secret Weapon Toolkit, and be real
Hmm.
confident. It's just that one thing that you can't do is, how does it ride? What are the ride characteristics? And do the bait wells work and the live wells work and all the pumps work properly? Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think they'll
that.
guarantee all of that as far
Okay,
as that
yeah,
goes.
and there's a certain point where if you really love the boat, you feel like it's the right one. How much risk are you willing to take by avoiding that? But like I
Hmm.
said, I would do all of that stuff up front, and then work them as much as I could to get that boat in the water um, prior to
Yeah.
writing it. But if it gets to the point of you're going to lose the boat or not, um, I hate to give you that
It's a
advice,
tough
but just
call, isn't it?
yeah, just make sure that you get whatever it is in writing, what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. Because here's what's going to happen is, come May, when the weather warms up there, they're going to be slammed in their service department. And
Hmm.
unless you have it in writing, you're going to go to, potentially go to the back of the line. Um,
Right.
and what the sales guy says, and I was a sales guy, even if I 100% believed it and I told my client we can get this done, if service had
Hmm.
other priorities, I was in the back of the line for our service department at times. So it may not even be a sales spiel, but the service writer is the one that makes the call, not the sales guy or sales
Yeah.
gal.
Most of my dealings right now is actually with the sales manager.
Okay, well,
Which
that's
I don't know if
better.
that
That's
would make
better
a
for
little bit
sure.
of a difference or not, because every time I added something, like, I am going to have them put on 2 coats of barrier coat and then bottom paint on that. And so, of course, I asked them, how do you get that line for that? And can you make sure it's full of fuel before you do that? And, all the little
Yeah.
tweaks to make sure it's at the right.
All the things you've been through before with your Silverton. Yeah.
Right, right. So, but they, they seem to be on top of all that. And, so yeah, so I've tried to cover all my bases. That's why I wanted to talk to you to see if you had any more ideas on it. Now I might have mentioned, I might have said it was a 27, but it's actually a 29.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to the sailfish were outside in Charleston, so I didn't get a chance to inspect the new sailfish.
Hmm.
But I've been on a couple before. But most of my comments have been from dealers that have sold them.
Hmm.
And down in the Jacksonville, down to Miami area, kind of in that market area. I've known a
Hmm.
couple of dealers down there that had them, and again, that was several years ago when they had a different CEO, and so I don't know
Oh,
how
okay.
things have changed there. And in the boating industry, things change when there's new leadership in place. Things change often. So.
Right. Okay. Well, that's. Do you have any recommendations on trailers?
My best recommendation is, especially traveling that long distance, get the best trailer you can. And if you're on the cusp of weight, go with the higher capacity trailer.
Yeah, I was going to go
you'll
with
be, yeah. And then
the bigger axles and the bigger hubs and the better tires.
You got it. And then before you sign everything on the trailer, just double check the age of the tires. Make sure that they're newer tires, which the way they've been producing trailers right now, I'm sure they're brand new. But there have been situations where trailers have come off the line with a 2-year-old, 3-year-old set of tires on it, and
nice.
And that's not good when you've got 6 of them to replace on that boat.
Yeah, actually, I got on a website that was actually showing you how you could check the year of the tires on the number.
Yeah, I don't know that I've got that on one of my videos, but I need to do that. I did a trailer video, but I think I skipped that age of the tire piece. But it's important.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's very important. So, Jim, I wish I had better information for you. I mean, I think based on our conversation is you've been down the right path. You've had all the right thoughts in your head. And now it comes down to, okay, how much can I push them for that sea trial, and maybe hold them off on the paperwork till we can get to the boat, versus how much risk are you willing to take, and how can you make sure you reduce it as much as possible by getting things in writing. But I think you're on the right path. I think as far as the boat goes, if you've inspected it to the detail where you're looking at the hardware, you know what you're looking at. And the last piece would just be, if you can get it on the water, everything you can to make that happen is going to build that confidence level up to as close to 100% as you can get.
Yeah, that makes sense, Matt. I appreciate that information for sure. I did put in there something about the ride in writing that says if he does not like the ride, he can keep the value for a larger purchase. That's about all I could get out of him.
Yeah. The good thing is that I see this market continuing until 2022, just with the demand and the inventory levels in the dealer community is at the lowest level it's been for decades, which means even if the builders continue to build, there's still a low level of supply. So even if demand goes down a little bit, I think it's still going to be much higher than supply. So if you need to flip it, I think in the short term you'll be okay. But,
yeah, I thought of that exact same thing, that if it's not what I want, there are people out there still looking for center consoles.
Yep, for sure. Well, Jim, I appreciate you joining me here on the podcast. And let me know how it goes. If you do get it on the water, send me a picture and let me know how it goes. And I hope, like I said, 95% sure everything would perfect. And I would love to hear about it.
Okay, well, I'm the kind to give more information out, so you'll probably be hearing from me, Captain Matt.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jim.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate all your info. Take care.
You're welcome.
Let's pull up the anchor and run this podcast back to the dock. We'll be back again with another helpful and fun episode next time. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/guest, and I'll help offer insights into your boat research and shopping experience. Also, we'd appreciate it if you took just 2 minutes to rate and review this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. It helps others find us so we can help more boaters. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it in your boating groups on social media. They will certainly thank you. And by the way, if you haven't already, grab your free Boat Buyers Secret Weapon Toolkit at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/toolkit. And so you don't pay too much for your next boat, visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/save for a short video. Now, before we go, I want to leave you with a few first-time boating tips for when you own your new boat. Number 1, Know your local boating laws, basic navigation rules, and how to operate your boat safely. It'll make boating even more fun for everyone. 2, be aware of your wake at all times and pay attention to no wake zones because you are responsible for your wake. When maneuvering at slow speeds, you can put out an enormous wake. If going slow, be courteous, save some fuel, and drop down to idle speed, just in forward gear to ensure there is no wake. This could save you an expensive ticket and will keep you from being that guy on your waterway. Number 3, boats do not have headlights. They have docking lights, specifically made for seeing in tight quarters and docking. Do not turn your docking lights on while cruising down the water. It can blind other boaters and is very dangerous and, again, could save you an expensive ticket. Number 4, follow the maintenance schedule for your boat. Change the oil, impeller, gear lube, winterize if you need to winterize in your area. Inspect your trailer tires, bearings, and grease the hubs if you're a trailer boater to ensure you don't experience expensive and unnecessary repairs that will impact your boating time. Number 5, always double check your plug is in, your battery is charged, and the fuel is full before heading out for a day on the water. It could just save your boating day. And if you're a trailer boater, I've got a few extra tips. Number 1, at the boat ramp, prepare your boat, your gear, and your guests in the staging area. Then, when you're ready, back down the ramp, unload the boat, head to the parking lot, and right back down to your boat to be fast and courteous to your fellow boaters and don't tie up that ramp unnecessarily. Next, use transom tie-down straps when trailing your boat. Very bad things can happen if you don't, and they do happen. 3, check everything in the boat is secure before heading down the road. Seat cushions, gear, keys, towels, even tubes and lily pads can get blown out when pulling your boat down the highway or interstate. And most important, have fun. Enjoy your boat and get on the water as much as possible because life truly is better on a boat. Until next time, this is your friend in boating, Captain Matt.